I'm doing this by myself, so if anyone joins in, you know, we'll see. All right. Is it live? I can't figure it out. I don't know if we're live. Okay, we are live. Good. Okay. If anybody has questions, comments, fire them in there. Putting a caption up now on Twitter. All right. We'll see. If nobody joins, nobody joins. Just gonna keep an eye on shit. Should go on a couple of rants. Maybe we'll go on a couple of rants. If anyone wants to join in. We'll post it in Slack too. See if anyone wants to join in. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay. So I don't know exactly how I want to do this. I did want to do a fantasy football show. So we're live. It is Labor Day. We just did our site league. Why don't we start there? We just did our site league. Pull up the team. Kind of a bush league team. Only 8 teams, so obviously nobody's team is going to be really bad. All right. So I picked McCaffrey for $47. Travis Kelce, 26. Josh Allen, 42. Javonte Williams, 27. Ramondre Stevenson, 8. Cam Akers, 14. DeAndre Hopkins, 10. Gabe Davis, 9. I also am outside, so if anyone hears shit, get a view of the flowers. Why not? Gabe Davis, 9. George Kittle, 14. Ryan Tannehill, 3. Jameis Winston, 8. Juju Smith-Schuster, 12. Trey Lance, 10. Chris Godwin, 5. Harrison Butker, 1. Zach Wilson, 1. DK Metcalf, 5. Tyler Bass, 1. Damian Harris, 1. Darrell Henderson, 1. That's the team in the site league. James Herrick said I have the best team. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know if anyone's going to even join this or if anyone even cares, but listen, I'm a man. I wouldn't say I'm for the people, but I try to help, Nobody wants to take my advice. That's fine. People want to lose. That's fine. I don't care either way. So we also did another live show, live Bats and Cheese show in person. That'll be coming out soon. If nobody's in here by like 4:45, somebody's in here. What's going on, Chickster? There we go. Number 1 loser. Are you saying you're the number 1 loser? That's funny. You got any fantasy football stuff you want to chat about, Chickster? Oh. I figured it was a good idea, I'm sure people have their drafts today. A little last second advice. See if anyone joins. If not, no big deal. I'll shut it down. What else should we chat about? Talk about the Dameon Pierce hype? I can do that. So there was maybe a point in time that I would have understood taking Dameon Pierce, and He is the Texans starting running back, so there will be value there. But I mean, the number one rule in fantasy football is don't pick running backs on bad teams. He plays for the Houston Texans, so we're already off to a bad start. He didn't have a ton of college production at Florida. I mean, I could pull his stats up. I mean, how many carries did he really have at Florida? How many carries did he have at Florida? Of course, it takes me to his fucking Texans page. He had 100 carries this past year for Florida. 5.7, which isn't bad. That's good. But, I mean, this isn't a guy that was, like, carrying SEC defenses or, like, trucking people. I had him as, like, a 6th, 7th rounder. Houston picked him in the 4th round. He's tough. He can break tackles. Can't catch it all. Can definitely pass protect. So I guess that counts, but I don't think it really helps you in fantasy. So, I mean, if you think he's an RB3, that's fine. But, I mean, he's moving to a point where you almost have to pick him ahead of, like, David Montgomery and ahead of Dobbins and ahead of, like, Swift, or I don't know where he's going, but, like, you can't get enough people. You can't find one person that doesn't like Dameon Pierce at this point, and he hasn't played a game. So, I don't know. I would be fine having Dameon Pierce on my team, but I mean, what's he being ranked right now? So it's getting a little crazy, isn't it? What's Dameon Pierce being ranked right now? I should probably have this up anyway. He is ranked. Where's he ranked? 27th. Okay, that's not terrible. You can buy in with that. But like he starts getting into like Cam Akers territory or like something like that, we're out. We're out on that shit. But how many guys do you want on the Houston Texans either? You know, you want a team full of Houston Texans? How many games are they going to win? How about that moron on ESPN? I'm going to come up with a nickname for that fuckface. Brandon Cook's going to break fucking Cooper Kupp's record. Sure he is. Ah, boy. How do you like the flowers, Trickster? What do you think of the flowers? Are they a nice touch? Should I like maybe tilt it more to the side? I don't know what to do. Are people too high on Michael Pittman? Absolutely, they're too high on Michael Pittman. Let me pull up his ranking too. Michael Pittman is ranked 12th, which is totally fucking nuts. I mean, I can't see a scenario where Michael Pittman finishes as he would have to finish as an wide receiver 1, which is crazy. I don't care what anybody says. Going from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan can't be a good thing, especially in fantasy. Like, you want to say, hey, maybe Matt Ryan's a better NFL quarterback. I wouldn't go with you there, but he sure as fuck isn't a better fantasy quarterback. He's not throwing the ball down the field like Carson Wentz did. I think Mo Alley Cox could be a guy that steals more touchdowns than he did last year. They did add Alec Pierce, so it's not like they don't have anybody as a number 2 wide receiver. Anybody's better than what T.Y. Hilton gave him last year. I don't know. I mean, how good is Michael Pittman? I'm not saying he can't play, but this idea that he's like a top 12 wide receiver talent wise, that certainly can't be the fucking case either. So I would not be in on Michael Pittman for his draft costs. I don't quite understand where it's coming from or why it's even a topic, but maybe like wide receiver 25, I could understand that. But there's just is still a run first offense. Jonathan Taylor's getting the ball first. So I don't get it. And it's probably going to be a team that has the lead. The AFC is tough, but their division sucks, and they're not going to be in shootouts. So you want to, hey, the Raiders, they're going to be in shootouts. The Chargers, they're going to be in shootouts throwing the ball. How many shootouts are the Colts going to be in? I don't see it. I don't see it. How good could Michael Pittman be? What were his stats last year? I mean, I wasn't out on him coming into the draft. I thought he could play, but Okay, so he had 1,082 yards and 6 touchdowns last year, 129 targets. I can't see how he's like significantly better than that. And he would have to be wide receiver 12. He would have to be way better than that to be wide receiver 12, especially PPR. How many catches is he going to have? He's got to have at least 120 to be worth that. So I wouldn't go there. What else do we want to chat about? My college notes are out of control. Took me a while, but maybe we'll do another 15 minutes. I don't know. If nobody else gets in here, we'll call it. This is a good question. I like this question. Am I crazy for not liking Leonard Fournette? I'm probably on that same page. I don't have a strong feel for it either way, but I would say that if you're like banking on Leonard Fournette to be your number one running back or number two running back and you have to start him every week, I wouldn't feel good about that. I think Keyshawn Vaughn, I wouldn't say he's necessarily better than Ronald Jones right out of the chute, but I mean, he's going to get touches. And Fournette is such a lazy piece of shit. How could you count on him in back to back years? He's already given you probably his best production. So I know it's a good offense, but man, I mean, to pick him ahead of some guys like I'm not taking him ahead of Cam Akers. I'm not taking him ahead of Javonte Williams or J.K. Dobbins. That to me is nuts. Talent wise, hey, maybe Fournette can play, no question, but he's a lazy fuck. What did he come into camp this year? 245? I don't know. I think he's given you pretty much what you can expect. The way you have to draft him, he has to do what he's been doing. I don't think there's any guarantee of that. And they drafted Rachaad White in the third round, so I don't think his pass catching stuff's going to be there. I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I'm not saying I wouldn't draft Leonard Fournette, but I am not going crazy to draft Leonard Fournette. What do you go for in our league? 19? I think that's a fair price. But yeah, I don't. I wouldn't be spending high draft capital on him. You know what the fucked up part is? Like, if Matthew Berry did one of these, he'd have like 5,000 people in here, and I'd fucking smoke him. It's a shame. Got another one. Thank you, Chickster, for being here. I think the hype is too high on Amon-Ra St. Brown to be fair. Too crowded. That's probably correct. I think there's a stat out there that St. Brown was like wide receiver 2 in like a 5-week span last year. Most of that had to do with Hawkinson being injured. I had somebody else hurt. I can't. Oh, and Swift. Swift was hurt too. Swift is going to eat in the passing game, so that's already going to take his touches down. I think Hawkinson will probably get his targets, and now you bring in DJ Chark, who I don't think's a scrub. I don't think DJ Chark's a scrub. And by the time you get to like week 10, Jameson Williams was picked 12 for a reason. So I don't see where the targets are coming from. And it's fucking Jared Goff. Like, how many guys do you want throwing you the football besides Jared Goff? There's at least 25 quarterbacks you'd rather have. So I wouldn't be spending crazy arms and a leg for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think there's a chance maybe that he has a good couple of weeks, but you probably never know when to start him either. So that's also a problem. Let's do this one. Chad, what's going on? Rachaad White or Keyshawn Vaughn? I always kind of have a theory on this. It's probably maybe not always right, but I think it's right most of the time. A lot of these rookies fail. They don't fail like long term, but they fail year one. So you can go back through all this stuff, like Tyler Lockett. What did he do his rookie year? So a lot of these guys make it. They just don't make it year one. Keyshawn Vaughn was picked in the same round as Rachaad White, except he's older, and now it's his opportunity. So I'd probably go Keyshawn Vaughn if I had to just do it this year. White probably has more passing game stuff though, so if it's PPR, maybe you'd lean towards him. Supplemental draft. No, I gotta finish uploading. The rosters are done for the site league and all that stuff. I have to pay for it though. But once that's done, I'll probably just, I don't know. Tell me who Jackson wants. Don't you have a full roster anyway, Chad? I'll open it up. I don't know. I know Chickster doesn't have a kicker either, which is funny. I don't know how you go into a best ball league with no kicker. That's a strategy. Chad, speaking of your team, I'm a little bit I wouldn't say I'm confused, but man, I think people are a little bit wrong about your team. I'm not saying the Eagles are necessarily going to be fucking bad, but man, I've seen some people say they're going to be fucking number 1 seeds, and that's just nuts. That's just nuts. Although I would say, compared to the consensus ranks, I'd go Dallas Goedert. I'd be higher on than most people. I'd be higher on Devontae Smith than most people. And I'd probably be lower on A.J. Brown than most people, even though I love A.J. Brown, the talent. I don't hate that take. In fact, I may probably – I have Matt Ryan as QB2. I just think there's no rushing that's coming. Like, Mac Jones is at least young, and I'm not saying Mac Jones is the most athletic guy in the world, but Belichick likes those QB sneaks, and he could probably get a couple. Like Matt Ryan, he's old dirt Eli Manning. So I would probably lean Matt Ryan towards last, but if you want to go Mac Jones at 31 or 30 or 29, I don't hate that. The only Patriots on one are their running backs. They're going to run the ball. So in terms of like a 2 quarterback league, Mac Jones would definitely be towards the bottom for me. See, Chad is drinking this Kool-Aid already. I think maybe they should be favorites to win the division. I'm not saying they should win the division. I still think Washington has a shot, even though I sound probably nuts. Just hate that Brian Robinson news. That sucks. I'm just telling people right now, best ball leagues, the quarterbacks, you're going to have a quarterback that throws 3 touchdowns in a week, and he's going to be in your lineup for a best ball league. I don't know why nobody's picked more quarterbacks, but yeah, I would – any kind of best ball league, I would want as many quarterbacks as I could have. Yes, I think there's an enormous difference between Isaiah McKenzie and Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis is actually fucking really good. I think there's a smaller gap between Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis than there is between Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie. I'm not saying Isaiah McKenzie is bad, and I'd probably rather have him over whatever Cole Beasley would have given him this year, but yeah, I think Gabe Davis is pretty legit. If he went to a bigger school, he would have been picked way higher. He was like one of the last big Central Florida guys that they had that was like really good before the program fell off. I think Gabe Davis is really good. I mean, I picked him for our team, so if my receivers weren't so stacked in the other league, him and Jerry Jeudy are 2 receivers that like are kind of in that 25-30 range that I really want this year. I lean towards the Jeudy side. I guess I can go on that rant. I understand people that like Courtland Sutton, and I'm not saying Courtland Sutton won't have a good year, but man, I think we're missing the boat on this Jeudy stuff. I don't think Jeudy's stock will be ever any lower than it is right now. I would probably say no, only because I just don't know where his targets are coming from. Like, Tyreek Hill is going to command such a large target share of the offense. Then you got Jalen Waddle. They're going to run the football because I don't think Tua is going to throw it 40 times a game, or ideally won't throw it 40 times a game with the San Francisco staff. So you're going to have Chase Edmonds and Mostert or whoever else it is running the ball a lot. You still got Mike Gesicki. So you're looking at 5th on the go-to list. I'd probably have others ahead of Cedric Wilson. Top 5 sleeper running backs. Okay, we're starting to get into this. I like this. Top 5 sleeper running backs this year. Let me turn this off quick. Top 5 sleeper running backs. Let me just pull up a list real quick so I can look at something. For just this year. Okay. Does A.J. Dillon count? I don't know if he counts. He's already ranked pretty high. I do think that Chase Edmonds could be a little bit of a sleeper. I do kind of buy into the Chase Edmonds stuff. His yards per carry stuff has always been good over the course of his career. It's a matter of if he can sustain a larger volume. So he's finally getting an opportunity to be the guy. Raheem Mostert's gonna get hurt. He always gets hurt. I would take a shot on Chase Edmonds, and he can catch passes. So any little dump offs, Tua will look for him. I do kind of like the Chase Edmonds stuff. I'm big into Ramondre Stevenson. I know that starting Belichick running backs is fucking trial by fire, but there's a chance he could be LeGarrette Blount, 18 touchdowns. So Stevenson is definitely one. I would take my shots on. There's another one. Kenneth Gainwell, I would take a shot on. Chad, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think Kenneth Gainwell might be better than Miles Sanders. And regardless, even if he isn't, they just fucking hate Miles Sanders. So he's going to get touches. He was pretty good as a rookie. If he gets 150 carries this year, would anybody be surprised? Miles Sanders told everyone not to pick him in fantasy because he knows he's not going to get the ball. So I kind of like the shot on Kenneth Gainwell. Tony Pollard, but he seems kind of obvious. I don't know how much he's going to get if Zeke's healthy, but I think he's better than Zeke right now, so why not? How about did I give 5? Who else did I give? Zamir White. I would want Zamir White on my team. It feels like Jacobs is going to be phased out eventually. They already didn't pick up his 5th-year option. That fucker Zamir White is tough. You can say whatever you want about him, but he's tough. He's tough. I think they like him. I think they're going to use him. How about one really late one? Jordan Mason, Georgia Tech running back, San Francisco. I don't know. I don't hate the idea of picking Elijah Mitchell, but they fucking hate running backs. I wouldn't say they hate running backs, but they hate using just one. And you never know with Shanahan. So I'd want as many of those. If you have Mitchell, you better get his fucking backups. That's all I'm saying. Viable fantasy options on the Falcons offense. 2. Pitts, because he's tight end, and there's just not many good tight ends, and that guy's a fucking freak. So you have to go with Pitts. I probably wouldn't pick him as high as others are, though. That's the only thing. Do people realize he had 1 touchdown last year? He had 1 touchdown last year, and that was with Matt Ryan throwing them the ball. They suck. They're just bad. So how many times are they going to score? And now fucking Mariota's the quarterback. So Pitts is going to be startable because he's just that good. But, man, I couldn't pull the trigger on him like super, super high. And then Cordero Patterson. I can't believe he's not ranked higher. Cordero Patterson had a fucking good year. He's going to catch passes. He's going to catch the ball. He's probably the number 1 running back. Tyler Algier is a nothing. So I would probably be, if I'm going to pick one Falcon for my team, I'd probably have Patterson. I actually don't mind the shot on Patterson. They can suck all they want. He's getting the ball. And he's not even ranked that high. Where do they have Patterson ranked? They have Patterson ranked RB 36. Like, if I have a choice between him and Melvin Gordon, it's just not even a discussion. If I have a decision between him and Devin Singletary, it's just not even a discussion. So I have a decision between him and fucking Alexander Madison, 6 spots below him. I mean, what are we talking about? I would be more than fine having Cordero Patterson on my team. I'm just glad there's people in here asking some questions. So this is fun. Maybe. Of course. How could you not be? How could you not be nervous about it? How could you not be nervous about it? I'd still pick him first. You leave your fate up to the fantasy gods. You know, if you ain't first, you're last. And if you're not fucking, who else would you rather have if he's healthy? The answer's probably nobody. So, I mean, unless his price is like outrageous, then maybe a pass. But anything that's kind of in line with the rest of the running backs in an auction league, or he's sitting there, and I would take it. If you ain't first, you're fucking last, man. I'd take the shot. He's due to be healthy, right? Isn't that how it works? Hurt 2 years in a row. This is the year. He's got to be healthy. I don't know. One positive news, though. There is some stats if you want to do some tracking. Kareem Hunt had a pretty big target share with Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. Baker likes throwing the ball to the running backs. It's just something to keep in mind. Baker likes keeping the ball to the running backs. Well, I mean, I tried to warn people about Deebo Samuels for how many years in a row? Nobody ever listens to me, so I wouldn't say his ranking is low. What's he? Our wide receiver 6? I mean, that seems fair. We don't know what this new offense is going to look like. I mean, who the fuck knows if Trey Lance is even good? What if he's bad? I mean, he could be bad, and then it's not even Deebo's fault. He could also be very good, and Deebo gets better. So I think wide receiver 6 is fair where they have him ranked. He's going to get the ball in multiple different ways. He's still probably their best running back if they want to use him that way. Like, who would you have it ranked? Like, are you throwing a fit about Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, and Devontae Adams ahead of him? I'm not saying I think CD Lamb could have a better year than him. I think he's a top 10 receiver. It's a matter of where he falls. He also has some injury stuff, so he hasn't been the most durable guy in the world. I think wide receiver 6 is probably fair. You talking about Gus Edwards? I'm assuming. I'm assuming this is about Gus Edwards. I would say, I mean, it depends on how deep your league is. I think it's. I mean, I think Dobbins is going to show that he's the number one guy, and it's not close. But they're going to run the ball like fucking crazy. I mean, I think he probably has a chance to be wherever AJ Dillon is ranked. I think he has a chance to be a version of that. I think you can do way worse than Gus Edwards as a sleeper. I would rather have him than fucking Mike Davis or Kenyon Drake. Hey, Gus Edwards is actually good. If Gus Edwards just stayed at Miami and didn't go to Rutgers, he would have actually gotten drafted. So he's fucking big too. Yeah, I think he's definitely relevant. If you're in a league that he's not rostered, that's probably a problem, which he wasn't in our league because it's 8 teams. But yeah, I'd say he's probably relevant. He's a hard one, T. Higgins. He's a hard one. So I have it pulled up here. He's wide receiver 11 on the rankings. I would probably have him a notch lower than that just because, man, like, if Cincinnati's better, and we think they should be, He's going to lose some targets. You already know Jamar Chase is going to get his. Tyler Boyd is still there. Their offensive line's better. Are they going to be in more shootouts? He basically has to do what he did last year to justify that ranking. I think it's probably a tad high. I mean, he should still very well be a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3, but yeah, I think 11's probably high. Who would I have ahead of him? I would rather have. It's tough because I wouldn't move him down too much further. I wouldn't move him down too much further. I would. People think I'm crazy for this. I fucking like Gabe Davis, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Gabe Davis outscores him. I would have Waddle ahead of him. I think I'd rather have Allen Robinson. Pickens or Deontay? Short term or long term? Honestly, I think the answer might be Pickens either way, just because Deontay's always hurt. Deontay's hurt a lot. Even in that last preseason game, he got hurt. He's hurt all the fucking time. So, I mean, if you're gonna take the shot, I guess why not Pickens? Obviously Deontay should probably be ranked higher for a year 1 redraft, but man, the problem with Deontay is he's always fucking hurt. He's always fucking hurt. And if your quarterback is Trubisky, you're better off just going with the high upside guy. Yeah, I think I'm probably in on Allen Robinson. I actually told Matt this in our fantasy league. He has Cooper Kupp for dirt cheap. And I told him, dude, why not trade Cooper Kupp for Allen Robinson in both picks? I think there's a chance Allen Robinson, I don't want to say he outscores him because I don't think that's going to happen. I think there'll probably be a sizable gap. I would still have Kupp ahead of him. I mean, way ahead of him. But, I mean, you can't ever undersell what a quarterback upgrade does for you. You can't ever undersell what a quarterback upgrade does for you. So, I would definitely be in on Allen Robinson. How could you not? What's he being ranked to? Allen Robinson's wide receiver 23. There's just not a shot I'm taking Brandon Cooks ahead of him. There's just not a shot I'm taking Deontay Johnson ahead of him. There's just not a shot I'm taking Darnell fucking Mooney ahead of him. I don't know. I would be in on Allen Robinson. I wouldn't overpay to go get him, but I would be in on him. Yes. Yes, they have overrated fantasy wide receiver or fantasy value. Where's Bateman on here? Bateman is wide receiver 27. I would bet everything I own on Chris Godwin outscoring him. I'll take that bet any day of the week. Anybody that wants to bet me, I will take that. Chris Godwin will outscore him. Number 1, Rashad Bateman. I mean, people can say whatever they want, and they can blow the Ravens and say that Eric DeCosta knows what he's doing. He just doesn't. But he's barely better than Tyler Johnson, and Tyler Johnson got cut by the Bucs because he couldn't make their team. I'm not saying Bateman can't have fantasy value because he's the only fucking guy. But man, you're going to tell me he's got more fantasy value than Chris Godwin? No shot. Your goal in fantasy should be Ricky Bobby. I'm either first or last. So, what's the upside on a team that never throws the fucking ball? Mark Andrews is the only guy that you know is going to score. I'd rather take my shot with Juju Smith-Schuster, and I don't even like Juju, or Michael Thomas. Yeah. If I'm taking a Ravens receiver, it's if I'm in a 16-team league, and it's Duvernay. I think he could be. Why couldn't he be? I mean, they have nobody. They have nobody. I don't get the Alan Lazard shit. Um, I'm not saying Alan Lazard can't be startable. He probably can be startable in a couple weeks, but again, your goal is to win the league, not to, have safe picks. So I would go with, I guess, Dobbs, because all the reports have been that he's out playing Christian Watson. So I guess that's the way you got to go. I mean, I wouldn't overpay for him. I probably wouldn't take Julio Jones. I hope Julio Jones does well. He is one of my all-time favorite wide receivers. I had him for 6 consecutive years in the fantasy league. I will never say terrible things about Julio Jones, other than the fact that the Titans GM is a fucking cracked out moron for giving up a second round pick for him. But I'd probably rather have Russell Gage, just because he's way younger. If I'm taking a Tampa Bay wide receiver, I want Chris Godwin. The ranking on Chris Godwin is fucking nuts. Like there's just no shot in hell. Chris Godwin's wide receiver 28. If Tom Brady tears his ACL, I mean, man, I don't get how Godwin's ranked that low. I need some water. I'm still alive, but I need some water in the worst way. All right, where were we? Winston. Love Winston. Love Winston this year. How could you not? How could you not be on Winston? He got his eyesight fixed. How could you be a good quarterback if you can't fucking see? I don't think Jameis Winston will go down as being one of the best first overall picks of all time, obviously, but I think the fucking guy can play. And more so than anything, he's great in fantasy because he doesn't give a fuck. He's going to take the shots down the field and he wants to score. So I would be in a 2 quarterback league, especially one that doesn't kill you for interceptions like our league. You don't get negative points for interceptions. Yeah. I think Winston will have a big year. I've kind of go back and forth on the Kamara thing. I thought there was a point in time he was probably ranked too low. Now I think he's probably ranked just about right. I kind of wanted him in our league that we did the other day. But, like, what did he go for in our league? 25? I think that's fair. I think he's a middle tier running back. I know other people are blowing him and say, hey, he's a clear-cut wide receiver 1 or running back 1. I don't think that's the case. But, I mean, he's going to catch passes, so that's good. PPR leagues, that'll help you. I think I would draft Kamara, but I wouldn't overpay for him. Let's play a little game. I would take Kamara over. I would actually take him ahead of Mixon. I would take him ahead of Barkley. I would take him ahead of Fournette. I'd take him ahead of James Conner. I'd take him ahead of Zeke. I wouldn't take him ahead of Swift or Javonte Williams or Aaron Jones. So in that range, probably where I'd take him. Why don't I like Jarvis Landry? Because he's clearly the 3rd best wide receiver on their team. Michael Thomas is going to be a wild card, but if Michael Thomas plays, he's definitely way better than Jarvis Landry. And I think Chris Olave can fucking play. I think Chris Olave is really good. In fact, if I had to make a bet right now, I'd probably bet Chris Olave, number 1 receiver on their team. So this one feels like more of a, hey, you play the slot. The targets will be there when they'll be there. But you're definitely the 3rd guy in the list. Plus, he's actually, not super young anymore, I don't think. How old is Landry? Let's look this up. Yeah, this will be his age 30 season. And I don't think he was that great last year. Like I think he's definitely lost a little bit of a step. So anything more than like $1, $2, or $3 for Landry, I wouldn't do. Okay, I like this. The questions are coming in. Other than Barkley, I don't think Barkley's even somebody I would want. So the only Giants player that I would want in fantasy, the only one, and I'll probably end up doing this in our league, I'll probably pick up Tyrod Taylor. Fuck it. Daniel Jones gets benched at some point. Tyrod Taylor can be a second quarterback in a given week on a bye week. Other than that, I want nobody on the New York Giants. New York Giants and Atlanta Falcons. I don't want anybody on those teams, except for maybe Patterson. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. How good can both of them be? I think both of them can be very good. And in fact, I wouldn't worry about the committee at all. I would probably have, I think, well, obviously Rodgers is going to be Rodgers. He'll have a good year. It just is what it is. But the NFC is bad. And I think people are like underselling the Packers. Like, that's a good football team. How many games they won last year? 13, 12, 13? Okay, they lost Devontae Adams, but that just means Aaron Jones is going to get more targets out of the backfield. And they're probably going to play both of them at the same time. And A.J. Dillon outrushed Aaron Jones last year. It's a good offense. I like both of them. I would pick both of them high. In fact, let's play this game. I would have Aaron Jones ranked maybe a spot or two ahead of A.J. Dillon. I'm very high on A.J. Dillon. I would take A.J. Dillon ahead of Breece Hall. I'd take him ahead of James Conner. I'd take him ahead of Leonard Fournette, even though he's the second running back in his own team. I'd take him ahead of Saquon Barkley. I'd take him ahead of Travis Etienne. I'd take him ahead of Elijah Mitchell. I'd take him ahead of David Montgomery. I'm that high on A.J. Dillon. In fact, I don't have any problem with having both of them on the same fantasy team. I don't necessarily think that it's stupid. I just would say that those people are misguided. I think Breece Hall has some talent. I think Breece Hall can play. I think Breece Hall will probably end up being like a Matt Forte type talent. I think he can play. I think typical second round running back that can start for you for a while, but and he's tall. I don't necessarily love his vision all the time. I wouldn't take him in a redraft league for like high resources. That just wouldn't happen. I mean, they've come out and said Michael Carter's still the starting running back. So what the fuck does that mean? The bottom line is it's still in the New York Jets. And if Breece Hall played for another team, maybe you would understand it. But the bottom line is, and I wrote this in the Breece article I did the other day, but they were 32nd in rush attempts. Is that number going up? Is that number going up without Mekhi Becton? If that number's going up, that means they're not a last place team anymore, and that means they're going to be better than the New England Patriots. And I don't buy that. And it's still a San Francisco type philosophy where, I mean, nobody's going to carry the workload. Like, there's not going to be a clear cut running back one. I don't know where the touches are coming from. I just don't. If I have to pick one, I'd rather have Michael Carter, but for cheap. I wouldn't spend an arm and a leg, but I think Carter has some value. Some. All right, what do we got here? Chickster, I hope you're right. I just don't know if it's going to happen this year. Eckler is running back 5, which is high. I mean, based off of what he did last year, he probably deserves to be running back 5. But man, Eckler's tough. Eckler's tough. The problem with Eckler is that fucking guy scored a lot last year. And I'm not just talking about fantasy. I'm talking like he had 20 touchdowns last year. That's not fucking happening again. Eckler could have a great year. He's going to score 20 touchdowns again. I mean, look at his career numbers before last year. 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Last year he had 12. Let's do the receiving numbers. Rookie year, 3 receiving touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns, 8 receiving touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns, 8 receiving touchdowns. I mean, he could easily end up with 5, and he kills your team. I don't know. I hope you're right. I do hope you're right. I just don't know if it's going to happen this year. Again, it's the same thing with these rookies. They enter the league, and we're all excited about them. And then it's like fucking McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman got picked in the second round. It's like, hey, big weapon for the Chiefs. He's still done nothing. But, I mean, that's how this shit goes. Deebo Samuel was picked in the second round. He did nothing for 2 years. I wouldn't say he did nothing, but he wasn't really useful for 2 years. It happens. I don't know if he does help. I still don't know if he's better than Darnold. Man, I think. See, like for example, let's use DJ Moore, because DJ Moore is probably the guy that, hey, right? DJ Moore, he's the receiver you're targeting if you're going with somebody on the Panthers. But I mean, 3 consecutive years, if you go look at his box score, 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. He's not a red zone threat ever. So I don't know. If there's anybody I want, it's McCaffrey, and everybody else. And the thing about Carolina is, and nobody's going to tell you this, I think their defense isn't bad. I don't think they're going to have to throw the ball 100 times to win games. I think they could be in several games that are 20-17, running the ball, playing good defense. I think it would be a mistake to tell Baker to go out there and throw the ball 45 times. I don't think that's going to happen. I wouldn't say he helps that much. Maybe he helps a little bit. Maybe, but I don't. Are we going to sit here and say he's got a Matthew Stafford effect? Mm-mm. It depends. It depends. If you're telling me he's my 3rd running back in fantasy, sure, I'll take him. That's fine. If you're telling me he's my 2nd running back in fantasy or my 1st running back in fantasy because I have to overspend for him, no, I'm not doing that. I didn't really love him coming out of Florida. My scouting report was he's tough. He's hard to tackle. He can pass and protect, but he can't really do anything else. He's definitely not fast, and he definitely can't catch. And he definitely plays for a bad football team. And he definitely probably shouldn't have gone in the 4th round. He probably should have gone a little bit later. He's looked good in the preseason, but that doesn't always mean anything. I wouldn't go fucking hunting for Dameon Pierce. If he's sitting there and I like the spot, I'd take him. But how much did he go for in our league? I should look that up. How much should he go for in our league? He went for $1, but in the Vendetta league that he just did, what should he go for? I'm trying to look. Who has him? He went for $13. I got Cam Akers for 14. Yeah, that's nuts. if I have the decision between Dameon Pierce at $13 and Cam Akers at $14, I mean, that's just not a conversation I'm willing to have. I would, in my personal opinion, I think that Robert Woods is being undervalued, and Treylon Burks is someone that I probably have no interest in drafting. This idea that Treylon Burks is going to step on the field and just immediately replace A.J. Brown, good fucking luck, because he can't run routes right now. And maybe he can down the line, but right now he sure as fuck can't. So I would not draft Treylon Burks as a rookie. I'd probably wait. Robert Woods is a professional wide receiver, and he's at least somebody that we know can get open. So I would probably take him well ahead of Treylon Burks in a short-term league. We're having fun. We'll go for another 10 minutes or so, unless the questions really start pouring in. How do I view the Chiefs' offense outside of Mahomes and Kelsey? I've come around thinking that Juju might be a little bit undervalued just because, I mean, can we just say this about Ben Roethlisberger last year? He fucking sucked. He just fucking sucked. And I'm not the Juju fan. I don't like Juju. His TikTok shit is outrageous. He probably needed to go from Pittsburgh. If he played for the Steelers, he'd probably be the fourth receiver on their depth chart. But in Kansas City, he's the first receiver on their depth chart. And Mahomes has to throw the ball to somebody. So I can't see how he doesn't win some of those red zone stuff either. So I would probably be in on Juju just because his ranking's not that high either. What's Juju's rank? Juju is being ranked as wide receiver 32. Yeah, that's nuts to me. Like, I don't like Juju. I don't want Juju. But man, like, you're telling me 31 receivers are going to outscore that guy with fucking Mahomes? And their offensive line's good. It's like, I have Mahomes, and I have Mahomes with time. And I have Kelsey. It's not like Juju's the only guy there. So I would be in on Juju. I like the shot of McCole Hardman. He feels very Tyler Lockett-ish to me. First 3 years, wipe it out. He's a gadget guy. He's got to learn how to play. That's fine. But that fucking guy, he's fast. And he's a way better athlete than Sky Moore. So if I'm taking another shot on a receiver, I'd rather have Hardman over Sky Moore. Next one. Thoughts on the Jaguars wide receiver core? I would probably only take Christian Kirk. I think Arv probably put this best in the article that he wrote. He's going to be a boring pick. He's definitely overpaid in real life, but Trevor Lawrence has to throw the ball to somebody, and Christian Kirk's pretty talented. Like, he was good at Texas A&M. He fucking gets open. He's probably 85% of Keenan Allen. He's that kind of skill set. He's probably a little bit faster than Keenan Allen. I think Jacksonville's offense can't be fucking worse than it was last year. So if I'm taking anybody, I have no problem taking Christian Kirk, but that's probably about it. Next. What's going on, Squid Giant Chode? I don't know who you are, but happy Labor Day to you too. 12-team full PPR, Kyler, Kamara, Jones, Higgins. Kyler, Kamara, Jones, Higgins, Cooks, Waller, Elijah Moore, Bateman, 2 flex spots. So what's the question? I don't necessarily love his team. I wouldn't pick Cooks. Cooks would not be on my list, or Bateman. But I'd have to see the other rosters. So it's hard for me to say. But I mean, he's got a shot. Yes, I think you're out of your fucking mind with that one. Keenan Allen would be on my hate list if I put one out. I would not want Keenan Allen in any way, shape, or form. He doesn't catch touchdowns. He's never going to be a touchdown guy. He just doesn't catch touchdowns. It's just not in the cards. How old is Keenan Allen? What's his touchdown year? Yeah, I think you're nuts with that. His last couple of years, 6, 8, 6, 6, 6, 0, 4, 4, 8. I need the 12 touchdown year out of that. Where's his 10 touchdown year? He never scores touchdowns. And now that Mike Williams is like starting to figure it out, I wouldn't want Keenan Allen. No love for MVS. Nah, not really. I wouldn't be super high on Scantling. I don't think he can really play. If I'm going to take a shot on somebody, it's Hardman. And I would definitely want Juju. Yeah, I think that's a little nuts. I would want Chase I would want Chase as like a top 3 receiver. I would want Chase ahead of Jefferson, ahead of Cup. I would want Chase pretty high. I think Chase is disgusting. I think T. Higgins is a very good player. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, we're talking like Jamar Chase. That 20 touchdown year at LSU. That wasn't a fluke, and he's was better than Justin Jefferson at LSU. So I wouldn't want to bet against Jamar Chase. When do you draft Thielen? That's a good question. When do you draft Thielen? When do you draft Thielen? Where's Thielen ranked? 34? I think Thielen's probably, oh man, that's tough. I think Thielen's probably a little bit of a value. I would feel good about Thielen as my like flex receiver, throwing him in there. The biggest thing is, I think, man, like, are we really sure the fucking Vikings are going to be that good? I know people are blowing this head coaching change, but like, when did everyone decide that Kirk Cousins is like a top 10 quarterback? Like that just happened over the offseason. I must be unaware of that fact that Kirk Cousins is now a top 10 quarterback. I don't know where this fucking Viking shit is coming from. You want to tell me that Kevin O'Connell does all that shit in one offseason? I don't know, man. I would be fine with having Thielen as a wide receiver 3. No, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there. I think Tyler Boyd is a perfectly professional wide receiver, and he's carved out a hell of a career for himself coming out of the University of Pittsburgh. But I don't think he's nearly as talented as T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is better than Mike Williams. Like Mike Williams went with the 7th pick in the draft. I think T. Higgins is better than him. Tyler Boyd was a 3rd round pick, I think. 3rd or 4th round pick. That's the thing with Higgins, though. Like, Higgins is fucking way better than Brandon Ayuk. I'm not saying Higgins is a bad player. I think Chase is fucking Anquan Bolden on steroids. Any idea for Vikings wide receiver 3? I could be mistaken here, but KJ Osborne is healthy, right? I mean, he's fine, right? Who's the guy that got hurt? Is it BZ Johnson got hurt? That's what it is. Yeah, I think KJ Osborne's probably the wide receiver 3. That's the thing I don't get about this Viking shit. We're gonna start talking about Kirk Cousins. Like Kirk Cousins is just gonna do all this shit now. What are we talking about? What are we talking about with this Kirk Cousins stuff? Did everyone just forget that he's just not really anybody that you want as your franchise quarterback? Did we forget about that? I don't get what happened with this Kirk Cousins shit. Overnight, it's like, oh, Kirk Cousins, like he's the punching bag. He's never going to win you a big game. Why you pay him $45 million? And now fucking Kirk Cousins is awesome. I don't understand it. Mooney. Wide receiver 3, kind of flex guy. He was kind of interesting out of Tulane. Definitely has some athleticism. Fields has nobody else, so that helps. I don't think he's going to win your league for you, but I don't have any problem with him being on your team. I think Fields is better. I think Fields is way better than what he's getting credit for. I know the Bears have problems, but that fucking guy can play. What do I think of Dave Montgomery? He's tough. He's tough. He can break tackles. That's good. That's a good thing. He's kind of similar to Maurice Jones-Drew, a little bit of a bowling ball, but it's still a fucking bad offense. So I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about David Montgomery. I don't feel strongly about it. I really don't. I think Khalil Herbert did some good things last year too, which kind of scares me. So And it's a bad team. That's a fucking bad football team. And there's a shot Justin Fields just steals all the rushing touchdowns anyway. So this thing could go south. But he's been dependable in the past. So I don't know. I'm fine with having Montgomery, but I don't think he's on my list as somebody that I'm dying to have. How about we wrap up at 5:45 and we call it a day? Let's use fair. Hopefully by that time, Sophie will have the in-person show done. This is my guy. I love Irv Smith. This is the thing about the Viking stuff. Okay. Kirk Cousins. How good is he? I don't think he's that good. So we got to pick and choose. We think Justin Jefferson is going to get his, but I'm probably not on the, hey, he's going to break records line. Like, is anybody breaking records with Kirk Cousins as their quarterback? I'd probably say no. So I think Jefferson will have a good year, but I don't think he's having fucking 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns or whatever these nut jobs think he's going to have. I love Irv Smith. I'm just saying it right now. I think he's better than your boy TJ Hawkinson. I think that guy can fucking play. He's had some bad luck with injuries. I get all that. Tight ends take a while, so you got to be patient with this position in general. It's the same thing I said about Jimmy Graham. Hey, Jimmy Graham did nothing for a while. That's okay. That's okay. Jimmy Graham fucking can play. Turned out well. Irv Smith, he's the best Alabama tight end they've ever had. Since watching all Nick Saban's guys, Irv Smith is the best tight end he's ever had. He's way better than O.J. Howard. I'm very high on Irv Smith. I think Irv Smith should absolutely be a top 10 fantasy tight end. If he's not a top 10 fantasy tight end, I should almost fucking slap myself or something. I think there should be a punishment if he's not at least a top 12 fantasy tight end. I don't see any way how he's not. Where is Irv Smith ranked, actually? Irv Smith is 14 on Fantasy Pros. Okay. I would put him higher than that. What else we got? Bills running back room. I think this one's pretty easy, and I don't quite understand the expert opinion on it, which doesn't fucking make sense to me. It seems like everybody and their mom wants Devin Singletary, and they're just okay with having somebody that isn't going to win your league. I don't quite understand that. This is a great offense to be part of, so that's a positive. But here's the thing. Last year, they didn't want to run the football because they know their running backs aren't good. So they draft a running back who's pretty good, and then you're telling me he's not going to lead their team? Doesn't make sense to me. I would have James Cook number one by a long shot. I would have James Cook as the best Bills running back by a wide stretch. And if I want a second guy, I would probably actually rather have Zach Moss because Zach Moss is at least going to score touchdowns. Like, he's going to be the goal line guy. So what's the deal with Singletary? So I'm getting him for 15 carries and 60 yards? What the fuck does that do me? I would say Cook, Moss, and Singletary, which is probably the exact opposite of everybody else. I wouldn't take Montgomery. I wouldn't even throw a flyer in his direction. I think all the reports that have come out have said they want Ramondre Stevenson to be the guy. And he's caught the ball well in camp. All the reports have come out saying Ramondre Stevenson has been the pass catcher. And I think the reason for that is you don't want a one-dimensional offense. And it's the reason why I wasn't super, super high on Evan Ingram coming out of the draft. If you have a guy that can only do one thing, he's game plan dependent. So if I have Evan Ingram lining up at tight end, it's not going to be a run play. We're going to throw the ball. So if Ty Montgomery's in the backfield, we know we're going to throw the ball. So he's game plan dependent. He's only coming in on third downs. If I have Ramondre Stevenson, that guy's getting the ball all the time. And he can catch. So I if there's anybody I want in New England, it's Stevenson. Starting to rain. It's cool. James Conner, too rich for my blood. Don't want him. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm not saying he's going to be a touchdown hog like he was this past season, but Chase Edmonds isn't there anymore. Actually, I'm probably on the I don't agree with you on that one. I mean, I'm not saying James Conner is a world beater, but I think Arizona's not bad. He scored a lot of touchdowns. In fact, this is actually a stat. Arizona, I believe they had the second highest run percentage in the league in the red area last year. They want to run the football in close. Conner is that guy. He's going to score. And if he gets hurt, just pick up Darrell Williams, and he's going to fill in just fine. So I have no problem picking James Conner. I would just like to handcuff him with Darrell Williams. I don't think you can just pick James Conner. I would want his backup too. I'm out on Mike Gesicki. I don't want any part of Mike Gesicki. I think you got to limit your options with the Dolphins. I would want Tyreek Hill. I would want Jalen Waddle. I would want Chase Edmonds, and then I'm probably good. There's been reports that he might get traded. There's been reports that they're probably not going to keep him. He doesn't really fit the Mike McDaniel offense. He can't fucking block at all. So that's a bit of a problem. They already picked up Cedric Wilson to kind of play that role. Like, he's not George Kittle. He's not going to block like George Kittle. So I'm not saying he can't do something, but yeah, I wouldn't want Gesicki. I would rather throw my shot with others. Yes, I would want Hollywood.
Yeah, I might sound a little bit different. My AirPods died, but I would want Marquise Brown. I think the biggest thing we're forgetting about Marquise Brown is he's going from a quarterback that couldn't throw the ball at all to a quarterback that not only can throw the ball, but him and Kyler Murray are best friends. They're literally best friends. They hang out all the time. Kyler Murray wanted him to come to Arizona. They played together at Oklahoma. They love each other. So, honestly, those first 6 weeks, I would fucking want Marquise Brown. And then maybe you dump him. But I would want Marquise Brown. I would absolutely want Marquise Brown. In fact, I wish I kind of bid more for him. But once I had Hopkins, I didn't really want to bid too much. What do we say? Give it another 2 minutes and we'll call it. Wrap up at 5:45 Eastern. Starting to rain. Charge the computer. I got to make these fucking WordPress accounts too. Last question. I like last questions. Do I buy in on Renfro? Yes. Yes. Yes, you buy in on Renfro. Yes. I'll leave it with that. Yes. I like Renfro. How much would you pay for Lance? I now have him in both leagues. So the other league, I have him for $1. So that wasn't really a hard decision. I had him at a North Dakota State. So what did I pay for him? $10? I think he's a boom or bust guy. We don't really. He's the one guy in the league. I have no fucking idea. If he sucks, I wouldn't be surprised. If he's awesome, I wouldn't be surprised. So, as long as he's not costing you an arm and a leg, I think you go for it. All right, I think that was good. Let's call it a day. Happy fantasy football marathon. Good luck with your teams if you're drafting out there, and we'll see you.